We're all surrounded by these invisible architects. They're the AI systems that decide what videos we watch, what news pops up in our feeds, and sometimes they even make judgments that can completely change our lives. But what happens when these architects have, well, ghosts in their blueprints? Hidden biases and flawed logic that lead to some really messed up outcomes. Well, let's get into it.
Have you ever had that feeling? You watch like one video on how to fix a leaky faucet, and boom, suddenly your entire feed is convinced you're a professional plumber, ready to start a new career. If you've ever felt like something's just a little bit off, trust me, you are not alone.
And look, this isn't just a theory. This is a real comment from someone online. It's that exact feeling of being chased by an algorithm that's got the wrong idea and just will not let it go. It's not just annoying. It can actually feel, aggressive.
And here's another one. This person feels like these systems, which are supposed to help us find things we'll love, are actually doing the complete opposite. It's a surprisingly common feeling. So what is really going on under the hood?
Well, here's the dirty little secret. The main goal for a lot of these systems isn't really to make you happy, it's engagement. The algorithm's #1 job is to maximize the time you spend on the site. And a lot of the time, the easiest way to do that is to show you something wild or weird, not necessarily what you actually want or need.
But these little recommendation glitches, they're really just the tip of the iceberg. They're a clue that AI doesn't see the world the same way we do. In fact, sometimes it sees things that aren't even there.
Okay, so take a look at this. It's a simple picture. We give it to a super powerful image recognition AI, one of the best in the world. And sure enough, it correctly identifies it as a knee pad. 99% confidence. Simple, right? It works.
But now, things get interesting. Researchers take that same image and they add a layer of what they call noise. It's basically a pattern of pixels that's been so carefully designed that, to you and me, it's completely invisible.
So on the left, you've got the original. On the right, the altered one. I mean, look at them. They're exactly the same to our eyes, right? But for the AI, everything is about to get turned upside down.
Because that same AI now looks at this almost identical image and declares with 99% confidence that it's an ostrich. Wait, what? A knee pad becomes an ostrich because of a change we can't even see. This isn't just a funny mistake. This shows us something fundamental. AI doesn't see things like we do. It just calculates probabilities based on patterns. And that vulnerability? It's called an adversarial attack.
This bizarre behavior, this hidden weakness, this is what we're talking about when we say the ghost in the machine. It's that unseen force that kind of haunts our AI systems, making them do things that we just do not expect or understand.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about anything supernatural here. This ghost is a combination of very real things. Our own human biases, the messy and flawed data we feed these systems, and those misaligned goals we talked about, like maximize time on site, that just don't lead to good or fair results.
This all brings us to a really critical difference in how AI is built. Most of the powerful AI we use today is what you'd call a black box. Its inner workings are a total mystery, sometimes even to the people who made it. We put data in, we get an answer out, and we're just supposed to trust it. The alternative is a glass box, an AI where the decision-making is transparent. It can be audited. It's the difference between, trust me, it works, and here's how it works.
And this problem gets so much bigger than just weird recommendations or misidentified pictures. The stakes get exponentially higher when these invisible architects, these black box algorithms, start making judgments about actual people.
This quote from a massive investigation by ProPublica just sums it up perfectly. The dream of using AI to make our justice system fairer, it's incredibly appealing. But everything, hinges on that one little phrase at the end. Make sure the computer gets it right.
So before we dig in, just a super quick primer on how AI can mess up. An AI can get things right. That's a true positive or a true negative. But it can also get things wrong in two really important ways. A false positive, where it flags someone or something incorrectly, and a false negative, where it completely misses something it should have caught. When you're judging a person, those two types of errors are absolutely critical.
Okay, so there was this algorithm called Compass, who was used in courtrooms all across the US to predict how likely a defendant was to commit another crime. But that ProPublica investigation found a really shocking error. The algorithm was twice as likely to have a false positive for black defendants, wrongly flagging them as high risk, than it was for white defendants.
And the numbers, they're just undeniable.
When it was predicting future violent crime, the algorithm's false positive rate for white defendants was about 23.5%. For black defendants, that rate jumped to almost 45%. The ghost in this machine had a clear, measurable racial bias.
So how does this even happen? Well, it usually comes down to the data. An AI can only learn from the information we give it, and it's a known fact that historical data from the criminal justice system is just filled with systemic flaws and biases. So when you train an AI on that data, it doesn't just copy those biases, it actually amplifies them, and it hides them behind this mask of technical objective authority.
Now, this is a massive problem, but it's not an impossible one to solve. So how do we start fighting these invisible architects? How do we demand systems that are actually fair and just and accountable to us?
Right at the heart of this whole debate is this core tension. On one side, you've got the promise of convenience, letting super fast, efficient AI handle everything. But on the other, you have this fundamental human need for agency, the right to understand and, if needed, challenge a decision that affects your life. And right now, we are consistently trading our control for a little more ease of use.
And the main reason we're told this trade-off is okay. Turns out it's mostly a myth. There's this common belief that we have to use these mysterious black box systems because they're just better. They perform better. The idea is we have to give up transparency to get accuracy. But as more and more researchers are finding out, that might not be true at all. The solution isn't to just throw out AI altogether, it's to demand better AI. A growing mountain of research shows that these interpretable glass box models can be just as accurate as the black box ones. The point is, we don't have to choose between performance and fairness. We can have systems that are both incredibly powerful and also understandable. And all this leaves us with one final question to think about. The algorithms we're building, they're basically a mirror. They reflect the data, the priorities, and the biases of the society that creates them. So as we hand over more and more of our world to these invisible architects, the question we really have to ask ourselves is this: what will the reflection they show us reveal about who we really are?